All right, I will call this meeting of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School Board to order. Mr. Sickix, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Suzette, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Ustruck is excused. Mr. Keller?
Here.
Mrs. Carr?
Here.
Mr. Sickich?
Present.
Mr. Burns?
Present.
Mrs. Kaiser is remote? There she is. Ms. Deal?
Here.
Mrs. Justum is excused. President Lee?
Here. Proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. Do we have any modifications to the agenda this evening?
I have nothing this evening.
All right, so we will then move right into the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. We'll start with 6.1, which is our return to in-person learning update, which we share a couple times a month. And so we'll start with a little bit of an agenda. We always touch on the guiding principles that we've tried to follow as we work throughout all of this. A little update on where our health metrics are today. And then a couple new things. Deidre will do a couple slides here on contact tracing update. So how we're constantly trying to get better at that. And then a little bit of an update on instruction during quarantine, especially for elementary kids. We're still making some adaptations with the number of kids coming and going in terms of quarantine. So the guiding principles that we've been following is really safety and well-being. Right, so that's for students, for staff, learning that works for all students, being responsive and flexible, and then the practicality of implementation of all of it. So where we are in our external metrics, and again, we monitor Milwaukee County and West Dallas, West Milwaukee locally, and we get these data points from our health department. So the latest just came in today, but they're always a little bit behind, so November 2nd is the most recent. And again, we're trending overall in the right direction. And right now it looks like, at least for West Dallas, West Milwaukee on the COVID burden status, with the way it's dropping, that probably changes color 2 weeks from now. So that might be encouraging news for us, is that we've been moving in the right direction. These are more of the internal metrics that we monitored, and they really are to decide if we need to close classrooms or schools. And again, the threshold we've set is 5% positive and 5% of students and staff in quarantine. And the numbers are pretty stable. We've come down over the month, but now pretty darn similar to October 22nd. Another way to look at that is the graph that is up on our website. So that's right on the front page of return to in-person learning. And so you see a little bit where we got close with the percent of students and staff in quarantine. We got up to 3% a while ago, but right now the trend stays pretty stable for us. So in terms of a couple updates on contact tracing, and then where we are with instruction during quarantine.
Yep, good evening, everyone. So we've shifted. We had originally assigned each one of our school nurses to their home schools to do some of the contact tracing with those schools. And then we've added Sue Miller to our team this year, who is doing some project management work for us and has now taken this on as a more regular part of her job, as that was the need to make sure that we're managing it consistently. We've shifted away from each one of the nurses doing it at their own schools, and we have one of our nurses doing it side by side with Sue during these particular hours of the day, so that we can make sure that not only are we contacting the families, but we keep a very tightly monitored spreadsheet throughout the day. But what we were finding was that occasionally somebody is contacting a family from something that goes on the spreadsheet in between meetings and then not updating the spreadsheet till later, so then somebody else may have also been contacting that family throughout the day. So we're just trying to really tighten up what we're doing. The other thing that is helpful is we do have two part-time nurses from NOAA Labs that are doing some work with us that will be able to start assisting with some of this as well, just to, again, be really consistent in our practice. Sue from our office has gone through some training at the health department, so she really understands how do we do this in a way that keeps as many kids in school safely as possible every given day of the week. And then the last thing is there's a public registry where you can look up who is vaccinated and who is not. And we're going to have somebody in our office actually update that registry for all of our students, so that we're never taking the time to contact a family about needing to quarantine because anybody who was a close contact that is vaccinated does not currently have to quarantine as long as they are asymptomatic. So to be able to keep that registry at the ready to still notify families, please watch out for symptoms, but therefore not having to contact as many families as possible throughout the day, as we know that we wouldn't have to ask that student to quarantine unless they were symptomatic. So there's just a couple of tweaks that we're continuously making. Sue and I are meeting on a pretty regular basis. She's meeting with the whole team on a pretty regular basis right now to say which ones of these situations are working, which ones aren't. We're starting to see a couple of students who are in quarantine for a second time, and that's creating a burden on some families that we're working through. How do we support them differently, and how do we figure this out while still staying with what we've agreed to as far as our health metrics and our quarantine and our safety rules? So that's an update on that one. Instruction during quarantine is this: at the start of the year, we had what we thought was a pretty comprehensive plan, and a lot of it was individualized for students. But as those numbers have been on the rise, we're hearing from our elementary families that they need more direct instruction time than they're getting right now with just an asynchronous plan. So for students in 4K and 5K, they're going to be offered 30 minutes a day of synchronous instruction in reading and 30 minutes a day of synchronous instruction in math. That's going to be done in a variety of ways at the different school sites, depending on who has the ability to do that at the school site. Lots of the families aren't interested in any synchronous instruction. They don't mind the asynchronous plans. That works better for them and their family. They prefer not to have some of the pieces at home. So some families won't take us up on that, but many families will. And then we would also add 45 minutes a day for students in grades 1 through 5 of synchronous instruction. That means there is an instructor available to provide lessons online at their grade level expectations. 45 minutes a day in reading and 45 minutes a day in math. Families will still have access to those asynchronous plans, and then each school will communicate the plan for that school site at the start of a quarantine period. That's in addition to the teacher for the classroom checking in with the student at least once every 3 days, making sure that everything's up to date on Schoology or another platform so that they have what they need, and then also continuing to make the checkout of a device work for home. So those were the devices we committed to in our technology plan that could be checked out for hotspots and Chromebooks to be used at home really at any time, not necessarily during a quarantine, as we know a lot of our homework is on platforms and things like that for students to access at home. But we do have quite a few families who have checked them out so that they had access to something like that during the period of quarantine. And then we're going to try this. It starts, most of the schools started this week. We have 1 or 2 that are working on it for early next week, but don't have a lot of students in quarantine right now, so they felt pretty confident in their plan. We'll review it after a couple of weeks, and if we need to add more, we'll figure out a way to do that.
Great, and then next steps. Promoting vaccines, so we continue to do that for all students, but now in particular for elementary students who are eligible. And so we'll be working with the health department. They're setting up clinics and making sure that we're a part of advertising those and making sure our parents are aware and really encourage vaccinations. We may bring a discussion item to the board to consider changing some of the indoor mask requirements, and that would probably be sometime in January, given kind of where we are with vaccines. Our numbers remain stable. As we get into the winter months, I'd like to see a little, I have a misspelling on there, I apologize. Winter months to see kind of if there's any impact from indoor sports, and let's, see a little bit of what December brings us, and then start to talk about, where do we start to kind of make some changes to return us, hopefully, throughout this year to a sense of normal. And then this one has been on here for a number of months, so just, waiting to get clarity from our attorneys now on the OSHA guidance and mandated vaccinations for employees. So that's where we are with our returning to school update.
Question. For the synchronous learning that we're going to be doing, is that that's not happening at the same time with the in-person
No.
students? So it's a
Yeah,
separate
it's
teaching?
been super important to us as an administrative team and to our board as well to not ask our teachers to concurrently do anything like that this year. It was way too much on them last year. So no, this is a person who's either going to do it over a prep period and take additional pay to do that. It's a intern that has time during the day, that we can flex their time a little bit during the day. So it's a variety of people. Each school kind of came up with a plan by talking to their staff on what would work for them. A couple of the schools chose to kind of pair up because they haven't seen quarantines enough to have one person at each school do it, but they have enough going where 3 schools together have this teacher doing it this week and this teacher who's volunteered to do it the next week. So it was super important for us to try to figure out a way to definitely do it in a way that didn't ask our teachers to do concurrent instruction, but also did it in a way where the teachers who don't really have the capacity to take on one more thing right now could say, I really can't do it right now, and that's okay too, and we figured those situations out as best we could.
Okay.
In regards to masking, refresh my memory. I thought that we said that when the vaccine was available for 11 and unders, that we would give them 6 weeks and then we would come back and address.
Right, and so that's exactly about where that would land. So 6 weeks from now, we're actually in the middle of winter break. So coming back in January is kind of where we would start the conversations. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. All right.
Perfect, thank you. So go on to 6.2. So the legislative update, reading readiness overhaul legislation passes the legislature and heads to the governor. So as known as Senate Bill 454, it really is a massive overhaul of reading readiness program, including new state mandates relating to screening, assessments, interventions, parental notifications, and reporting requirements. It passed both houses of the state legislature this week and heads to Governor Evers to either sign into law or veto. If it does get signed into law, we're already implementing parts of what is going to be required in terms of some of the new reading assessments we've introduced this year. So we're watching to see kind of, does that move forward or not? Then a new Marquette University law poll shows strong support for elected state superintendents. The newest university poll, released by professional Charles Franklin, it included an array of questions on various election-related matters and other issues, along with the strong support for an elected rather than governor-appointed state superintendent of public instruction. The poll showed satisfaction with public schools overall. However, satisfaction dropped between August 2021 and late October 2021. There's nothing new at the federal level related to education at this point. And then 6.3 is our Board of Education recognitions. There's just one for this meeting. And this is from Caitlin Windler in finance. Would like to recognize Jill Rakowski and our retiree benefits. She's the retiree benefits specialist for her role in the smooth transition our retirees are experiencing in moving to the Anthem Medicare Advantage plan. With Jill's coordination, retirees received personalized written communication on the transition. Jill also helped coordinate 2 retiree benefit information sessions in which our partners with Anthem and Innovative Benefit Solutions presented information and answered questions. Jill has been instrumental in ensuring this is a smooth transition for our retirees. So thank you to Jill for all of that new work. And then finally in 6.4, just a couple quick updates and information items. So I would start with response to public comments from our previous meeting, and that was on October 25th. There was one public comment about a candidate running for U.S. Congress, but we really don't have anything to respond there other than to acknowledge it. There were no other comments made, but even when that occurs, it's just a reminder, members of the public can always communicate with the board, with our leadership team via email. All of that's available on our website, all that information and contacts. In our facility master planning, we have a workshop coming up for our school board with C.G. Schmidt, Bray Architects, and School Perception. So that's the group that did the community-wide survey. That'll take place on November 15th. The workshop will share the results of the community survey and begin the conversation of next steps in the process with the board. And actually, we're internally very excited about getting to this point in the facility master planning process. So we'll look forward to seeing all of you next week to have that conversation, and we encourage members of the public to join the workshop either here or virtually, because it's a lot of information and there's a lot of big decisions the board will face in coming weeks. And then lastly, last week we had a really remarkable set of professional learning days, and it's the kind of work that we really need to pay attention to, invest in right now to help us get back on track with the learning work we've been doing for the past years. They're really helping us return to our focus on the deeper learning work and our project-based learning work. And that work had us really on track, and we were dramatically improving outcomes pre-pandemic, where we had shifted from that point. And the little piece I use, and it's really based on the school report cards, and granted, that's kind of a one point in time test. It doesn't tell the whole story, but when we started, we had 3 failing schools and only 1 considered high performing. And before the pandemic hit, because everybody's kind of taken a step back, we were at a place with no failing schools and 8 considered high performing, right? So our work was really moving us forward. So so the work that Deidre and her team did last week with the professional learning days really helps us get back on track. But it wasn't just Deidre and her team. We had all kinds of teachers that opened their classrooms to one another. almost 50 presentations of teachers doing really interesting work and wanted to explain it and share it with their colleagues and get some feedback. So I also just wanted to give a shout out and appreciation for all of those teachers that took that step and shared their work. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Lexman. Does anyone have any questions or anything like that on his report? All right, well, with that, we will move on to item 7, which is our public comments this evening. We had a change in how we sent it for public comments in an attempt to be able to make them more streamlined, and so we can have an electronic record of everyone who comes here to speak. So if you're listening to this meeting on Zoom, there was a link to the document that was placed in the chat. So if you're looking to make a public comment this evening via Zoom, please click on that. If you're here in person and you haven't filled out the sheet yet, there is out in the lobby there, QR code you can scan with your smartphone, or a computer where you can directly enter your information onto the sheet so that we can use that for keeping track of our public comments moving forward. First of all, I just want to thank everyone here this evening for following the masking guidance we have in place, and it's going to allow us to participate with public comments and the rest of our meeting this evening as planned. So thank you very much for that. And as a reminder, you have 3 minutes to speak. You need to state your name and your address and what you would like to speak on today. The board nor any administration will respond to you during any comments that you have. It is against open meeting laws for us to do so because it is not notice for us to have a discussion about what you're bringing to our attention. But if there is any response needed, it will come to you by the next regular Board of Education meeting. So with that, I would like to call the first person on the list, which would be Mr. John Malling.
Hi, my name is John Mulling, 3850 South Pole Drive, New Berlin, Wisconsin. I've been taking notes for about the last month and a half because we haven't been able to speak. I'll start with what Noah told me a half hour ago before the meeting. There's a quote: "These meetings are not for public comment," end of quote. I'm just hoping you guys were paying attention to the election for governor in Virginia this past week. Terry McAuliffe lost. He was a governor before, was trying to become again. He lost because by an unknown candidate, Glenn Youngkin, because he made a statement where he was quoted that parents have no say in what is taught in schools. He got clobbered. Biden won by 10 points in that state. He lost by 12. That's how much the people in Loudoun County sounded off. I think you guys need to start paying attention to that. During a 10-13 meeting, Noah, you also, I thought you made a Freudian slip, but you said it to me again. In that meeting, that special Monday meeting, you had a quote, and I listened to it 5 times. Quote: "The reason we have a meeting is not for public comment. We have a meeting because we have business that we need to get done." Noah, these people pay for the school district. We belong here. Public comment is as much of this as the business you conduct. I also want to bring up about the National School Board letter to Merrick Garland. I hope you all know who good old Merrick Garland is, this Attorney General of the United States of America. He threatened the people that come to these meetings as possible domestic terrorists. I'm wondering if any of you think that the people coming across the southern border, there might actually be some terrorists. I'm wondering if the Afghanis that came here, not too many of them, like 10%, have legitimate credentials. You think any terrorists might be in there? And yet Merrick Garland has the nerve to say people that come to make suggestions or questions or complaints are domestic terrorists. I'm ashamed of this country. It's a sad, sad day in America when we come to this point in our lives, that we should be afraid to come to the local school board meeting because a federal agent might come knocking at our door because we might have said something you guys don't like. It is a really sad day in America.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malling. 1 second. All right, next person on our list is Mr. Joe Mikolajczyk.
Joe Mikolajczyk, 3355 south of Russell Court, New Berlin. Number 1, We do not need a $229 million referendum. This is a ridiculous proposal. Enrollment is down, and $229 million is a huge amount of money. I want to put this in a number more easy to comprehend for you. That's approximately $38,000 per student. I want to say that again so it sinks into your head. That's $38,000 per student. No, 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 and no. Number two, you stated you want to close West Allis Central due to declining enrollment. That sounds like a good idea to me. Do it, transfer students to have possibly another existing unneeded building used, sell Central before any, and I repeat, before any expansion at Hale. Number three, we do not need a Taj Mahal expansion at West Milwaukee Intermediate School. But I think I know why this was proposed. This proposal was made to appease West Allis Central parents and West Milwaukee residents that may be upset with closing Central. Number four, how much is the questionnaire about the referendum costing taxpayers? I have an idea. By the way, all this questionnaire is a way for the school board and district to find out whom and where any support may be so they can be lobbied. Number five, again, for about the fourth time, I will ask for a district health insurance cost analysis. Why do you continue to use the very expensive Teachers Union WEA Trust? And I think I can answer that question also, because that's what the Teachers Union wants. And what the Teachers Union want, you will do. And that's disgusting. Number six, you're supposed to represent parents, students, and taxpayers. Start doing it. Number seven, the public and parents do not want mandatory mask policies or critical race theory taught in the schools. However,
10 seconds, Mr.
you don't
Nikolajczyk.
seem to care. Any questions? As usual, I didn't think so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mikolajczyk. As a reminder, as I stated earlier in the beginning, we cannot respond to any of the questions or comments that are made, but we will provide any response needed by the next regular Board of Education meeting. And that's because it's literally illegal for us to do so. So just want to make sure that's very clear to everyone. That's why we don't respond. Okay. Mr. Steve Broadwell.
Steve Broadwell, 12965 West Ohio Court, New Berlin. Kids have not historically left for college embracing communism, but now leave those institutions in growing numbers, choosing that evil totalitarian socioeconomic system. The same indoctrination has now pushed its way into K through 12. In a recent email exchange with one of you, I asked what courses provide the students with an understanding of the greatness of our capitalistic system and a similar understanding of the evils of communism. The reply was that you do not use those courses to discuss that because those are opinions. The material is covered and students are encouraged to come up with their own ideas, so you think those are opinions. So if a student decides that they think communism is better, do you then embark on one of your deeper learning exercises to explain to them that they were terribly misguided? Or are you okay with students arriving at that conclusion and applaud them for their critical thinking? An opinion is the ridiculous virtue signaling of your tyrannical mask policy that is proven to do more harm than good to our kids, as you ignore your own district's physicians' advice, preferring the edicts of the sociopathic Fauci and the very political CDC for guidance. There's an abundance of science on masks that would classify your stance as an opinion and our stance as fact. An opinion is yours that CRT is not being taught here. We know it is a fact that CRT concepts have crept into WAWM in disguise to push your missions of equity and to indoctrinate our kids to be social justice activists. It's not an opinion that communism has killed an estimated 100 million of its own people. It's not an opinion that they have performed an estimated 400 million forced abortions. It's not an opinion that tyrannical dictators like Stalin, Hitler, Mao, Castro, and many others did all in their power to crush freedom, including religious freedom. Communism is pure evil. It's not an opinion that the freedom and prosperity we enjoy under capitalism has provided people of all races with an opportunity to pursue life, liberty, and happiness and achieve great things that have benefited the entire world. Communist countries are laughing at us as we genuflect over race. They love to see us divided. That's what CRT's goal is. An opinion. Do you all feel that way? Do you all feel that it's an opinion, that what I just said? It is hard to believe that this district can't even teach our kids the fact that our system beats the heck out of communism. No wonder so many of our kids are turning out like they do, more and more favoring communism that they really don't understand, where everyone is equitably miserable. One final separate comment. Considering the recent rape in a school bathroom by a boy wearing a skirt claiming to be a girl in Loudoun County, VA, are you willing to continue to roll the dice
Please
that
wrap
this
up your
won't
comments.
happen here with your transgender policy that allows boys in girls' bathrooms and locker rooms?
Thank you, Mr. Broadwell. Ms. Natalie Wolf?
Natalie Wolf, 1120 South 95th Street, West Dallas. I have two issues with what we're doing as far as quarantining our children and the learning plan that is happening. So, 2 of my 3 kids in 2 weeks were sent home to quarantine for close contacts at school, despite the fact that they're wearing the mask and doing all the mitigation things. So when I get the phone call and I say, well, where is my child? Where do I pick them up? Oh, they're back in their classroom. So we have this hugely deadly, contagious disease that they have to come home and quarantine, but you're going to send them back with all the rest of the kids until a parent can come and pick them up. That doesn't make any sense. It's one way or the other. I think we have to pick one way and go with it. I don't agree with what we're doing as far as quarantining our children for these close contacts. If you would take a look at some of the districts surrounding us, Mugwanago, Muskego, New Berlin, Menominee Falls, Raymond, Arrowhead, all those school districts, they are not quarantining their close contacts. Those people are notified of close contacts. Some of them are masking, some of them are not masking, and they are asked to monitor for symptoms. They are not said, go home and do no learning for the next 10 days. It's unacceptable what we are doing. So the CDC puts out guidelines and the health department recommendations. These are not laws or absolutes. It is your job as the school board and superintendent to provide an environment for our children to learn a standard curriculum. You are not meeting this. Our kids were out of school for almost an entire year, and now you're continuing to send my kids home, and we can't teach the curriculum. We don't know the curriculum, so we're not going to Zoom because you don't want to put that on the teachers. We're given worksheets and assignments that keep them busy for 2 hours. And now I can appreciate, okay, you're going to look and say, we're going to provide 1.5 hours worth of teaching for our elementary school teacher, our elementary kids, but what about your older kids? You're not providing them any synchronous learning. How are we meeting all of the state mandated requirements for these kids? Keep them in school where they can learn. We are failing them. You guys are failing them. You're making terrible decisions. Every time they go back to the classroom, they're behind. The teachers have to catch them up, and every kid in that classroom suffers because of the kids that were sent home to quarantine. Our family's fortunate because we can find a way to make it work. We have somebody at home with them, but what about all your single parents and people that don't have that ability? You have all these kids sitting at home by themselves and not doing their schoolwork. We are failing our kids over and over again. Now you guys want to look at building new schools in this district, and our enrollment's going down. It's going to continue to go down. I can tell you there's so many people who are looking to open enroll, sell their house, and move because they want to go somewhere where their kids are going to be in school all the time. You guys really need to look at this. And another thing that I'm really disappointed is I made a lot of phone calls and I've had conversations with Sue Miller, and I say, you guys send people home, and then in 7 days you can test them, and if they're negative, they can come back. What are all those negative numbers? I know everybody doesn't test, but what are the negative numbers? That's what we need to look at.
All right, thank you very much. Miss Dorian Templin, I'm sorry.
Hi, Dorian Templin, 11423 West Oklahoma Avenue, West Allis, Wisconsin. I am here about this new insurance thing that was thrown to the retirees right after the last board meeting, so we didn't even have a chance to come until tonight. One of my questions is, I would like to know when the administration came to the school board to discuss the insurance changes, because that is what I understand happened, is that they needed to have more money. And instead of coming to the retirees and asking our opinion, like, would you like to stay with WEA? Would you like what options are open to us? We weren't even consulted, and that was not very fair. The retirees that have been in this district, many much longer than it was just kind of like a kick in the face. The other thing is, so many times, the school board members have set one of their goals as being more transparent with the community and to improve communication with the community. And you're not doing that, obviously. You went and did this behind closed doors, and all of a sudden mailed this out, and here's the new thing, comes January 1st. We don't even have hardly an option. It just wasn't done very, very nicely. And it's very unfortunate. There are many, many people that were very upset about this, that I knew of. Yet, I'm the only one here, and I guess Noah said he didn't hear from any other parents. I'm shocked, or any other people in the district that. The other thing that I would like to mention is the meeting that was at West Allis Central. My husband went, said there were a couple hundred people there, nobody from the school district that he recognized. Nobody was introduced from the school district. Now, that might be wrong, because he doesn't know everybody like I know in the school district. I was not able to come. I had a prior commitment. But at that meeting, there were 200 people. 3 people asked questions, my husband being one of them, back and forth with this person from the insurance company, and 2 other people. The rest of them, mainly seniors, older seniors, sat there probably not even understanding what was going on. And that is an unfortunate situation for our district. It was really, like a kick in the pants or a kick in the face to do that to us after many of them were here their entire lives and gave to this school district. And I have been here my entire life. I went to school here, all my kids went to school here, and I've been here my whole life. And I volunteered a lot in this district, and my time is up, so I'm going to sit down. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Ms. Templin. Mr. Chuck Kornowski?
Hi, my name is Chuck Kornowski, it's C-H-U-C-K. The last name is K-O-R-N-O-W-S-K-I. I live at 2158 South 90th Street in West Dallas. I agree 100%, and I apologize, ma'am, I couldn't hear what all you said, but all the previous speakers that came up here, I am with them and give them kudos 100%. The reason I'm here is to talk about the mask mandate. I've been at the Sheriff David Clark Burn Your Mask rally. We agreed that Dr. Flip-Flop Fauci was correct to the fact that you could wear 1, 2, or 3 masks, and a virus can go through the mask as if it were a chain link fence. He says, follow the science. And this is what I agree that the school board should do, is follow the science. Masks will not stop the virus from going through 1, 2, or 3 masks. you have to follow the science. The masks that our children are wearing now are causing more harm than good. It's causing our children to breathe their CO2 gas and making them ill. It's been proven that our mouths are germ factories. It's the filthiest part of our body. With creating a germ factory of our mouth, our children are breathing in germs all day. Heaven forbid our children are going to become sick and ill from breathing in their own bodily germs out of their mouths. Their nose and the mouth is all together. It's considered one. This is my concern for all you, the teachers, and you need to follow the science. These masks to a virus are like a chain link fence, and the virus can go right through. And our children are breathing in the carbon monoxide in their own bodies and making them ill. I suggest you remove the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kornowski. All right, that is the last person that I had signed up for public comments this evening. I just wanted to give one last opportunity if there's anyone on Zoom who is interested in speaking that has not, if they can click on the link and sign up, we would obviously allow you to speak. If there's anyone here who did not sign up that would like to speak to the board, we can also have that happen, as long as you'll go back and sign up afterwards so we have record of your comment. Mr. Nickel, is that allowable? That works. Okay.
Okay, my name is Jim Nickel. I live in District 3, West Dallas, and I didn't intend to speak tonight.
I'm sorry,
but
if
I
you
was
could give the
denied
actual
opportunity to
address?
speak last time.
Got to give the actual address, I'm sorry, the
Why?
district, it's required of everyone,
Why?
because that is the board policy.
1006 South 111.
Thank you.
I had a couple things. My main reason for coming up here, I was going to do it last week, but you denied me and others the opportunity to speak. It's a budget matter. I know that the board created a brand new position for, I forget what it was, roughly $128,000, I think. A new staff position called the Coordinator for Culturally Relevant Studies or something like that. And that seems to be a DEI thing, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it got me to thinking, how much of the actual budget expenses is dedicated to DEI matters versus academic matters? So I'd like to get an answer next week, because I know you can't talk now, about that number in terms of actual dollars and the percentage of expenses. Next item I had. Let's see. The National Association of School Board denoted all of us as domestic terrorists. And I have not heard anything to see if this board agrees with that characterization or not. I think it would behoove yourself to make a public statement saying whether you agree with the National Association of School Board statement or not. Don't email me. Say it out public. That would serve you well. Let's see, next thing. There's a sign up at Irving saying White Lives Matter, and I think that's quite racist. And I'd like to have that removed and any of the other exclusionary signs, because it flies in the face of the DEI initiatives that you guys are trying to promote. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Nickel. All right, just going to check the list one more time. I don't see anyone else signed up for public comments. Is there anyone else in the audience who did not speak who was interested? All right. And Mr. Nickel, just one more reminder, if you can make sure to go fill that form out for us so we have record of your speaking. Yeah, you can do it out there. Thank you. All right, so we'll close public comments at this time, and we will move on with our agenda. So move on to our board reports. Starting with 8.1, which is the review of the board calendar. So today is November 8th, and we have a regular Board of Education meeting immediately following a closed session. On Monday, November 15th at 6 p.m., we have committee workshops, communications, we have school showcases, financial stability and efficiency, long-range facility master planning, community-wide survey results that we'll be discussing there. Then on Monday, November 22nd at 6 p.m., we have our next regular Board of Education meeting, and immediately following a committee workshop on financial stability and efficiency, our facilities update. On Monday, December 13th at 6 p.m., we have regular Board of Education meeting, and on Monday, December 20th at 6 p.m., we have regular Board of Education meeting. So let's move on to item 8.2, Board Committee Reports. Item 8.2.1, our Recreation Community Services, Mr. Sikich.
Thank you. Our Recreation and Community Services Committee meeting met on Monday, April 18th. During the meeting, Shelley provided an update on the garage construction project, which is near the completion at the current, and a current request for proposals for the new accessible playground for the disadvantaged, and that's located on the northeast part of the property. As a committee, we discussed and strategized ways to address the department's staffing shortages in the areas of aquatics. Basically, because of the COVID, the students were not given the opportunity to earn a WSI lifeguard certificate, which allows them to work at all of our pools as a lifeguard. Our committee is reviewing a draft of an updated facility rental fee schedule and will be moving forward for board adoption at an upcoming meeting. And lastly, we are working to create a consortium to discuss, strategize, and address ways to improve the participation in co-curriculars from 4K through 12th grade in the district. There's a great interest in the community in the area of athletics, and we want to try to provide an answer for that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Someone have-
Yeah, I came up for some support, Amy. So Amy's substituting for Bill tonight for ours.
Okay, before we move on to that, does anyone have any questions for Jeff or anything about recreation? All right, well then we'll move on to item 8.2.2, life readiness through college and career readiness. Mr. Ustruck, AKA Ms. Deal.
Yeah, I didn't know I was gonna go today, and Ms. Kaiser's not here either. So, basically,
she's
we
here.
met earlier, this evening. So one of the things we talked about is we just reviewed the professional development, activities that went on last week. It was very productive. A lot of the staff are very appreciative of it. The focus really for the week was, getting our staff to focus on doing small things to, get back on track this year instead of looking at the huge, big picture and getting overwhelmed. So, hoping to keep that, a lot of staff felt very encouraged by that, so we're hoping on keeping that momentum for our staff. The other thing we discussed is upcoming workshops, so we were able to pin down a couple dates. We would like to have some workshops around our student services, student supports, so we are looking at doing something for that in December. In January, we're looking to do a workshop around our special education, EL academic supports that we offer here in the district, along with reviewing our co-curriculars. And then in February, looking to have some workshops around our elementary curriculum and our secondary curriculum. Did I get everything?
Yep, you did well, Amy. Good job.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that report. Does anyone have any questions for Amy? No? All right, we'll move on to item 8.2.3, our Financial Stability and Efficiency Committee. Ms. Carr.
All right. Caitlin started the meeting providing the committee members with a benefits update. This year, we have an active enrollment, or active insurance enrollment. The window is November 1st through the 15th. Employees can choose to have benefits experts walk them through their benefits and actually help them to enroll. Staff will also be able to participate in a workshop run by AFLET, our new voluntary benefit provider. The purpose is so staff can make an informed decision as to whether they would want to participate. Caitlin informed us that there were 2 meetings held for the retirees regarding the switch to Anthem. Any and all may reference our website, as it has been updated with all materials from those meetings along with recordings of the second session. Caitlin and her team are looking into possible early retirement for staff, but this demands a lot of behind-the-scenes work, including figuring out eligibility and working with actuaries to determine cost. They are hoping to inform staff as early as January if they are eligible. And lastly, we will need to discuss some possible changes to certain Neola policies, and we will likely need a board workshop to discuss said possible changes. Caitlin will add this to the director's agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Do anyone have any questions for Ms. Carr? All right, we'll move on to our final board committee report, 8.2.4, communication and community relations. So Ms. Kaiser, are you prepared? Okay, we can switch the audio over then.
Can you hear me? All right, thank you so much. At the October 25th Communications and Community Relations meeting, we discussed how great our first school showcase went on October 18th. Thank you to the staff and students from Dot Key and Shared Journeys for sharing your amazing learnings. Our next school showcase is November 15th, and we'll be hearing from Longfellow, Hoover, and Franklin Wright. Dr. Stewart shared her upcoming communication story called Humans of West Allis, West Milwaukee, which is inspired by the Humans of New York series. So we are looking forward to that rollout in the next few weeks. That's it.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Kaiser? If not, all right. Well, thank you very much for that report. We'll move on to item 8.3, board member reports of community events. Does anyone have anything that they participate in over the last couple weeks they'd like to talk about?
Just a follow-up, because I've missed the meeting and then we've kind of skipped over this, but wanted to give you an update on the final tally for our chicken dinner for the vets.
Oh, yeah.
Our goal was 900 chickens. Last year we did 650. We hit the 900, 800 of which were given to different VFWs and the VA.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And there were 100 people that bought them and took them home.
Oh.
And thanks to the board members that supported that organization. All the money from that's raised for that all goes to athletic scholarships for the 2 high schools.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that update. Does anyone else have anything they want to say?
Should we say it? So Amy and Brendan and I actually went to Central last Thursday for the Hispanic Month celebration, and it was phenomenal. There was a sophomore there from Central who spoke and just told her story. And the way that she got up there and told her story was incredible. It was very moving, and there were all guest speakers, and there were all kinds. There was a dance team there. It was so well run, and that teacher looked exhausted by the end of the night, but you could tell that her heart was full, and it was a proud moment for all of us. As we left, we thought, yeah, this is something special. So I'm hoping that happens every year, and encourage everybody to go to it next year.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing. Any other items we want to share? I did want to mention briefly, I wanted to thank Mr. Dolnick from Central. He invited me to come and participate as a jury member for his class, where they have 2 groups of students that have to argue how Mr. Winston was killed. And so that each side got to give opportunities as a member of a 5-person jury, and then based off of the evidence presented to us, we had to come to a conclusion. So it was a lot of fun. The students did a great job working off each other. When someone bring up one piece of evidence and other people have a rebuttal about why that piece of evidence wasn't good or better for them than it was for the people that brought it up. So I thought it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate being invited. So thank you for that. Okay, so unless there's any other comments, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Item 9.1, approval of minutes from our, from our October 25th meeting. Our 9.2, the employment summary, and item 9.3, our supplementary contracts. Does anybody need anything separated? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any last minute discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. And we'll, oh, Kristen also was an aye, okay. And then we'll move on to our action item for this evening, item 10.1, extended travel for FLW students to Boston, Massachusetts, October 2022. Ms. Raymer and et al.
Yep, so I'm going to pass this one directly over to our teachers, I think most of which that are on Zoom, and pull up. Oh, no, I lied, some of us, I think. Michelle, are you here for? No, okay. So I think most of the teachers are on Zoom, and I will pull up the information on the trip. Can they see both at the same time? Suzette, do you know? Okay. Do I see? There's Sarah. Yeah. Sarah, hold on one second. We can't hear you just yet.
Oh,
Sure, yeah.
If you want to share your screen.
Yeah, I can share my screen. Does that make it easier?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll introduce ourselves first. My name is Sarah Casso. I'm a Spanish teacher over at Frank Lloyd Wright. And I've been doing trips like this for probably 10 plus years with students. And I will let the other teachers introduce themselves as well quickly. I'll pull up the screen too.
My name is Kyle Coppersmith. This would be I'm a 8th grade math and science teacher at Frank Lloyd Wright. This will be my 3rd trip coming up.
I'm James Vanden Heuvel. I am a 6th through 8th grade math teacher at Frank Lloyd Wright, and this would be my 2nd trip.
My name is Jen Kemka. I teach 6th, 7th, 8th grade math and science in the STEAM community, and this will be my 2nd trip going with FLW.
And I'm Crystal Clemmy. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade World Humanities in NXGL right for the community at FLW. It's my 2nd trip too.
This is actually a website that the company that we're going through, World Strides, actually created for parents and for us to use as well. Crystal, did you want to talk about the dates and information first?
I got that.
Our van, okay.
All right, so the dates of the trip are October 11th to October 14th of 2022. The price is $1,400, which includes a $75 early bird discount when signing up by December 1st of this year. And then there's an initial deposit of $49. Some of the things that it covers are transportation to and from the destination Boston, hotel accommodations, admission to all attractions, meals, the cost of the course leader, the night chaperones, accident and medical insurance, and opportunity to earn free academic credit.
And just so you know, so the trip is all inclusive. It covers everything. The kids could literally come on the trip and not need to bring any extra money other than their spending money if they want to buy souvenirs and stuff. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to let Kyle talk.
Did we want to play the video?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll play the video first. Hopefully everybody can see this.
this trip to other students because it's a really great experience. You get to have a good time with your friends and you learn a lot.
You get to be hands-on with things, you get to learn things with your friends, and you get to actually see what you're learning in class in real life.
Okay, now let's see if I can get it to minimize. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Here we go. It's down here. All right, let me scroll. All right, Kyle, here we go.
All right, so like you can see in the highlights on this website and from that video, these trips are an amazing opportunity for our students to get immersive education on our country's history. This trip includes way more than what is included on the website, because on the website it's just like an overview, including Boston Tea Party Ship and Museum, there's Plymouth Plantation, there's a Fenway Park steam tour, which is a part of it. But then there's also a whole myriad of other opportunities for our students that they just don't get in the classroom. In previous years when we've gone to Washington, D.C., there's so much other things that the kids learn just from being with each other outside of school. And when you talk about deeper learning, you can't get much more deep than being engaged in this environment, engaged in your country's history. So, yeah, there we go.
One of the other things I was going to add too, they do the Salem witchcraft trials, they get to see that. And also they get to take a tour of Harvard University, which I think it would be really cool for our kids to be able to do that. I'm going to scroll down a bit further. Hold on. This is talking about the health and safety, which we had to do when we did our DC trip, because we went in June. But this is about tools to help the kids pay for the trip, because I know that's always an issue and something we are concerned about with our students. So this is another reason why we go with this company, is because they have flag financial assistance. So they have over $2.5 million in financial assistance that they give out to families. So any family that has an annual income of up to $85,000 can qualify for this financial assistance for the trip. And we've had quite a few students in the past who have qualified for that. There's also, they set up, it's called Gift of Education Fundraiser. And that is kind of like a GoFundMe type of thing for kids. But students can send e-cards, letters, and share links on Facebook and Instagram with families and friends. And their families and friends can click and make donations for them, like for their birthday or for the holidays or whatever it happens to be, to help them pay for their trip as well. And then they also do, a payment plan with parents as well, to help them. So it's not like they have to pay upfront the entire initial cost of the trip. Crystal, did you guys want to talk, or Kemka, Jen, did you want to talk about the club?
Yeah, I'd love to. So Crystal and I went for the first time last year on the DC field trip, and it was absolutely amazing. We loved it. And immediately when we were there, we thought about all the ways that we could incorporate everything we were doing there into what we were doing back at home at St. Lloyd Wright. So we decided to try to run with it and create a deeper learning travel club at FLW. It's got a whopping 3 members right now, but that's only because we've just begun. And we have decided to try to bring everything that we learned there and kind of bring it here so that we can know what to do when we get out there again. We noticed that it was kind of difficult for students to it's like we forgot how to go somewhere else. And so we talked about learning how to, learning what to do when you're out in public, when you're in museums, when you go to a national monument and things like this. And all of these things are going to be something that we talk about, as well as many, many other things in this new club that we started. We wanted to talk about things as far as all this global citizenship and things like this, all the way back down to things in our own neighborhood that we don't even really get a chance to look at and do. So we've kind of talked about doing things like maybe making T-shirts for our trip to, at this point it would be Boston, making T-shirts or making water bottles and things like this, as well as a whole lot of other stuff that I'll let Crystal take off with.
Yeah, for sure. So we also are going to highly encourage the students that are interested in going on the Boston trip to come join the club, too, just to kind of like gain a sense of familiarity with each other and to get to know each other. They get to know us. We just feel like it would be more inclusive then for the trip coming up in Boston. And I think too, we can go over, because my background is social studies, so we can go over a lot more in depth of the history that we'll get to firsthand explore when we go to Boston. So this actually, we were talking to, is that Boston relates really well with the 7th and 8th grade social studies curriculum too. So there's a plus for that to go to Boston.
Any questions from any board members?
Did you guys have any questions for us?
Kristen has a question. Brandon, leave the audio on for Kristen. No.
Hold on one second, Kristen.
Brandon, can you switch the audio back?
Okay, I want to come with you because I grew up, I don't know if people know this, until the age of 30, I grew up in Connecticut. So Boston was backyard for us. I still have the terrible Boston accent when I talk real thick. It's such a wonderful trip. I'm thrilled you're going, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about your experiences. And it's such a great, I took it for granted, that early American history, because I grew up there. So I'm really excited that you're taking kids from Wisconsin and are going to show them what, New Englanders grew up around with that history. I'm very excited for you all.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Well, I just want to say that I don't think that you should be asking us. I think that we should be thanking you all for giving our students the opportunity to do this and building memories and doing things that we want to see happening in our district. So we thank you very much for volunteering to do it.
Anything else? If not, I would look for a motion because they do have to ask us, unfortunately, due to board policy.
You do, yeah.
That's how this works.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any last minute discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I believe Kristen also said aye, so that passes. All right, so that is the last item we have on our agenda. We will take a brief 5-minute recess so we can move into closed session. So we are at recess. We're good? All right. So look for a motion to reconvene into open session. So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Carr?
Yes.
Yeah, just a roll call, so
Okay.
here is perfect, yep. Ms. Deal?
Here.
Mr. Sickett is excused, Mr. Keller?
Here.
Mr. Ustruck excused, Mr. Burns?
Here.
Mrs. Justum's excused, and Mrs. Kaiser's excused, President Lee?
Here.
Move to adopt the findings as discussed in closed session.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any last minute discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any last minute burning questions that must be answered right now? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Wow.